So this was a word problem about Ross, and Ross was planning a camping trip for the scouts. And he had a total of 252 scouts going on this camping trip. And when they go on this camping trip, we know that there are going to be 18 cabins, and each cabin has 8 beds inside a cabin. And after they fill all the cabins, everyone else has to sleep in a tent. So there were a couple of different questions that went along with this information. So the first question was, could you write a numerical expression showing how to figure out how many scouts had to sleep in tents? So the expression that we were looking for here is the total scouts, which is 252, minus 18 times 8. And we have 18 cabins and 8 beds per cabin. So the 18 times 8 will tell us how many scouts will sleep in cabins. And then whatever's left over after you subtract will tell you how many scouts will have to sleep in tents. Ross said that you don't have to do any grouping to solve this because he just said you don't have to do any grouping to solve it. We want to know if he's right. Well, yes, he is right, because in order of operations, or PEMDAS, however you want to refer to it, in order of operations, multiplication has to come before subtraction. So even if those parentheses were not there, it's okay, because multiplication always has to come before subtraction in order of operations. So Ross is correct in solving his dilemma. He does not need any grouping. Number 3 says to find the actual number of campers that will sleep in tents. So in other words, I'm going to now solve that equation. So it's 252 minus 18 times 8. So I do 18 times 8 first, which gives me 144. I subtract 252 minus 144. So 12 minus 4 is 8. 4 minus 4 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. So the answer is 108 will sleep in tents. And if you'd like to see that with the subtraction with regrouping, it's 252 minus 144. I borrow and make this a 12, a 0, and a 1. So that's how we find out that we now have 144 in cabins and 108 in tents. Now, the last question on this practice buddy question wanted to know how much info was actually needed, and they gave you a whole bunch of choices. So you needed to know. What did you need to know? You needed to know the number of scouts. Okay, this is not just a hashtag, it also means number. So you needed to know the number of scouts. You needed to know the number of cabins, which we had up here, which was 18. And you needed to know the number of beds per cabin. The info that you did not need was the cost of anything. So a lot of them said was like cost of a cabin, cost of a camping trip. You didn't need to know the cost of anything. And you also did not need to know, they told you the number of buses that they were going to be using for the trip. You didn't need to know anything about the buses, because the whole focus of the question was where the scouts were going to sleep. So you didn't need to know the cost of anything, and you did not need to know the number of buses. And that's it.
Should I cut it?
Yeah.